deep saturate within you, alive while we're away. Goodbye, good luck, I miss you. Remember me this land.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Hole in the World, an actual play set in the world of the Invisible Sun RPG by Monty Cook Games. I am, as always, your host with the most, your GM in the DMs. I am Zach, otherwise known as Great Zamino. I use he, him pronouns. And once again, I am joined by an absolutely wonderful cast that I'm thrilled to have introduce themselves. Marcy, if you'd like to get us started.
Hello, everyone. I'm Marcy, aka Experimental Madness, which is still the username you can find me most places around the internet. And I am thrilled to be back once again playing Gaffarion, the iconoclastic ardent apostate who hosts a choir.
Excellent.
Love to no-scope that every time.
360 no scope achieved. Moving down, Bill, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Well, hey everybody, my name's Bill, and it's only been 2 weeks or something since we last did this because we're doing weird time stuff. You can find me on Discord under the handle Ghostbike, and I am playing Maurice Webb, a stalwart empath of the Order of Weavers who turns tales into reality.
Excellent. Moving up and over across the screen here, Hopper, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Oh, that's me. I'm Hopper, and you can find me online under, if you're looking for bad hot takes, under Fail Deadly. If you're looking for quality content that's slightly deranged, you can find me under the Legend Tree. My pronouns are they, them, and I will be playing Twig, the mendicant gallant apostate who heralds beginnings. I'm a tryhard. That wasn't a no scope. That was a tryhard. But I'll acknowledge that. Whose pronouns are also they, them, and definitely isn't like 6 other characters in a sock or something.
Not even a trench coat.
Sock.
And finally, last but most certainly not least, Marissa, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marissa. I use she, her pronouns. I'm an editor of books, TTRPGs, and video games, also known as Critical Kitten, with various punctuation here and there on the internet. And I play Kyrrie von Hollingsworth, who is the first assistant librarian of the Order of the Vance. She is an aromatic stoic who understands the words, guardian of Zaleska's grimoire, curator of King Nine's library, maven of mirrors, and most recently has ripped a page out of a book. Maybe? Oops.
Who are you?
Who even are you?
Guys, you are probably seeing this at a very odd time. It could be by the time we premiere this that it is autumn. It could be that it is in the dead of winter, but the hope is that, basically what we've been doing is recording episodes while we have been on hiatus. We're concluding hopefully part 1 within this episode or the second after it. And so you're going to notice some kind of discrepancies in time, but I do want to call attention to anybody who is seeing this in autumn. Apparently Monty Cook Games is back here kidding a reprint of the Invisible Sun Black Cube that's supposed to come with all manner of goodies. So if you have come here to get your Invisible Sun fix, we are really absolutely thrilled to have you here. But keep in mind that if that reprint is already not up and funding, you're probably going to have a chance to go there and get your own Black Cube and play the game the same way we do when you get a chance. So keep that in mind. Just a little bit of business before we get started. But speaking of getting started, I believe recaps are in order. But before we can recap, we have to have our old theme. So let me turn that on here. When you arrived at the Melidius Manor, you found the entire state in a state of neglect and disarray. In the foyer of the opulent, ever-shifting house, you each noted several points of interest. a grand staircase from the top of which a light appeared to effulge, a strange figure in soiled white robes retreating into a room at the far end of the foyer, and several doors leading to other wings of the mansion. As you explored the manor's grand halls, you made a few important discoveries. The house itself was alive, and its shifting nature had been impeded by the efforts of the Vespertine. The strange creatures in soiled robes wandering the house had formerly served as guests to her Elegance, the mistress of the manor, and the rooms of the house seemed to be designed for entertaining these guests with more hedonistic enjoyments. Endeavoring to learn more, you ventured into a stately dining room, finding semi-catatonic guests banging their heads into plates of spoiled food, while a tornado of cutlery stormed around a long dining table. Spying a golden place setting at the heart of a tornado of cutlery, Kyrrie grasped an opportunity and used her understanding of the words to imitate her Elegance, causing the tornado to come to a stop. This clever maneuver also granted you an additional insight. Her Elegance's face had no features to speak of. Placing the golden cutlery at the end of the table, Kyrrie found a puzzle piece with a soundless, speaking human mouth depicted on it under a stylish dome. Before any of you could stop him, Duncan snagged the piece in his jaws, which magically gave him a pair of lips that allowed him to speak in a rarefied, eccentric voice. Nonplussed, but too intrepid to be deterred, you found your way to an elaborate astral observatory where several things happened in quick succession. You discovered that her Elegance was in fact the sister of the Silver Sun Warden Thyrim. The orrery you found in the room seemed to suggest the existence of a 10th sun on the path of suns. A massive soul devourer tore into the gold sun in an attempt to devour a secret soul-empowered Maurice, and Twig animated a dial of the orrery in order to lock the snarling devourer back into the dark from whence it came. Shaken from your brush with death, you managed to use the orrery to reconstruct the path of suns after the animated dial departed your sight. Looking through the telescope, Gaffarion found her companions and looked back to them to reveal a golden eye, one with a trace of a jigsaw pattern around it, and one that clearly had belonged previously to her Elegance. With the manor still beckoning, will the Visley be able to find a path to the Vespertine agent responsible for its accursed state? Let's find out. All right. Guys, you have the floor. We are starting anew. You found yourselves, after this dial has been ripped out of the orrery, with Gaffarion now boasting this golden eye. And I think Duncan is happily rejoicing that their master is in one piece, first off. But you now find yourselves in possession of two of her Elegance's former features. What do you do?
So
recap.
How strange does this actually look?
So,
Is it bad?
I will go ahead.
It's totally fine.
That doesn't fill me with confidence.
It's definitely fine. I
Sure.
swear.
I think it looks rather flattering. If I didn't know better, I'd say, it was something that you young folks did to your faces on purpose.
Hey, and I mean, right now I have no features, so you have one more than me.
What did you find in that book, speaking of no features, of you completely ripping a page out of a book, which I don't think I've ever seen you do before?
Well, I mean, needs must. It's one of those situations where we need the information, and it's not my book, and I don't make a habit of taking books that belong to other Visley. And, well, this seems like a relatively powerful Visley, and I wouldn't want to take her own copy of her memoir, but
No, you just wanted to rip a page out of it instead.
Gav, what she's saying is that if it's not her book, then you rip a page out of it.
well, but
That's what I'm
the page-
understanding.
That's
is
the
that
page
what
with
we're
the
supposed to be
information she needs the least, because it's the about the author page, so she already knows all the stuff she needs to know about her. I
Right.
think.
Did something happen to you when you went whole featureless? Because this is a wild take that you're having.
Look, I think that she holds up. I think it like almost in a like gesture of like surrender. You know, she's like waving this page back and forth like a flag. It's not much, but we might need it. And well, I can't take the whole book, can I? So
I mean, technically, no one's going to stop you.
right, but then we've stolen a book from a lovely, presumably lovely woman who isn't here to give us permission. So, you know, I figure I'll just treat it like a library and I'll give it back later.
Yes, I'm sure she can't actually see anything that's happening.
Well,
That's actually a good point. Maybe we can use the puzzle pieces proactively. Duncan?
Yes, Father.
How many puzzle pieces are there? Do you know?
Let me think on it some, Father.
I can't work like this.
you see Duncan start sniffing the air with the human lips at the end of his snout. I would like you to roll for Duncan. This is going to be fun.
Does he have human teeth at the end of his snout too?
You'd have to look to find out. Do you want to look?
I'm gonna roll.
Duncan rolled a 9 on whatever he just rolled.
All right. So I will tell you this. Duncan has a, let's say a 5 from this kind of benefit. And he's probably a level 2 or 3 creature unless things have transpired. So in this case, I will say that he begins snuffling towards the entryway that you guys entered in, almost like a bloodhound. That said, Twig, you were going to say something.
I rolled a 9 to see if Duncan has human teeth now.
I think
On perception.
as you I think I have to go with much more weird and more disturbing. So as you are kind of like watching Duncan, Duncan turns back to look at Maurice and just says, "This way, Father! I believe I found a scent." And as he kind of expounds, not only do you notice that he has human lips with still canine teeth that seem to almost kind of like defy the physics of a jaw, or at least a canine jaw. Not only that, but he has what looks like a human tongue.
That's
I hate it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you wanted to know, and now you
It's
know.
like that bad Photoshop that people do of like, what if horse's jaws? Like, what if it went all the way?
I'm just thinking of like the
Cheshire
sharks,
cat.
yeah, with the human teeth that are all smiling. Like,
I mean, the thing in my head is the Zoom potato filter with like just the really big eyes and like the weird human mouth.
get some googly eyes. Okay, so I will tell you.
It's a potato filter.
Duncan, I cannot stress enough how much of a good boy that you are. But I did ask if you knew how many pieces there were, not if you knew where other ones were.
Well, I'm getting 2 distinct scents and a third somewhat interesting one as well.
Okay, so the answer is no. You don't know how many other puzzle pieces there are, and that's okay. It's okay not to know.
Well, Maurice, can you smell numbers?
I don't know. Do you have any insight? Can you see the other puzzle pieces with your puzzle eye?
Yeah, let me try looking with my puzzle eye. I have no fucking idea.
As you say that, and you are looking, there's something about looking with your puzzle piece eye.
What do you see with your special eyes?
Tell me, what are your puzzle eyes seeing, Gaffarion?
You notice that there's a distinct different quality of the light in the room in which you find yourself, as if like just kind of like almost like every light source has a bit of a tracer on it, like a little bit of a golden halo. You get the sense. Actually, make me an intellect roll.
Let me see if I have some banner to put in that. I do. I shall do that. Oh, that was a good idea because one of those was a 0, but the other one was an 8.
All right. Okay. So, in that case, spend that sortilege.
Oh, I guess I use sortilege instead of intellect. Whatever.
Yeah. No. Totally.
I had both.
So taking a look at this, you realize that you are having kind of like a discrepancy in what one eye is seeing, because you realize that you have two differing perspectives. You have the sense that if you cover up one of your eyes, you will be able to see the manor the way her elegance sees it. However, covering the one eye that is yours will somewhat impede the Seed of Truth's ability for you. So you say that and you realize, oh, I probably can see to the heart of this manor, or kind of like have a little bit more insight here.
So I think what happens is Gab still says her stupid sarcastic line, and then like temporarily covers like her one eye so she can see that. You can just see her face go. You all know instantly that she was just thought she was making a funny joke, and I think Maurice especially, you know that she's just realized that she can absolutely see things differently out of the other eye.
I think in that moment of realization, Maurice says, okay, can I get everyone's full attention for just a second? And looks mainly to Twig.
Twig is not paying attention at all. Twig is the only person that has not realized this, because Twig is thinking about whether or not they can smell numbers.
Twig, can you join us mentally here?
Sure.
So we're here to do a thing. I feel like we've been at odds with each other. Not in that we're here for different purposes, but we're not working towards the same goal effectively. Twig, you gotta stop bringing stuff to life, man.
It's not always voluntary, so this feels a little bit not my fault.
And the Soul Devourer?
A little bit my fault.
Like, look, I can't blame anyone. Our strategy of just going in and touching things has seemed to work. But could we maybe just communicate a little more? You know, hey, this looks like a thing I want to touch. What do you guys think?
Sure, I guess.
So let's all get ready to leave this room and find the next puzzle piece. Does anybody have any suggestions of where we should look first?
I have a question.
Go ahead. This is fun.
Is this an intervention? I've heard about them. I've never been a part of one. What are we intervening?
I'm walking into the other room.
Twig, no.
Twig
We have to stay together.
Twig
That was a good
announces
intervention, Maurice. Very good. Yes.
No, let's all follow Twig. Let's all stay together.
Well, yes, because I think that they're going in the direction that Duncan scented potentially one of the other pieces. And I'm interested in getting these pieces together because I don't want to keep this.
Twig, perfect example of something I would love us to talk about before we do it.
See,
Cool
I'm very good at intervening. Just tell me what you want me to intervene with.
Twig, intervene with Twig, please.
Twig, I'm coming to intervene with you.
I think that at this point, after people have kind of like left the room and you're bracing yourself to leave yourself, Maurice, I think Duncan sidles up next to you and says, I just want to state for the record that I love you.
I love you too.
And just...
I'm gonna move. He goes to lick me, and I go, not right now.
And he just nods and follows everybody else into the room. Two things. One thing is if you are suffering from magical malaise, which that all of you that I think you managed to cure by invoking your secret soul, Maurice. Remember and note that so that we have that going forward. The other...
Yeah, that's a good... Yeah. I have one magical malaise and I have a permanent anguish. And I also, just to note, at the top of the session, Plentiful Pockets is still up and Inculpable Aura is still up.
Excellent.
So I'm not guilty. Fuck
you. And the second thing I will have then is... Maurice, as you are kind of leaving the room, I'd like you to make me an intellect roll. You can spend however much you can roll it straight, whatever you prefer.
Just gonna roll it straight.
Okay.
3.
Okay. Good to know. What do you guys do next?
Are we going past that statue again? The one that was in like the middle of the foyer?
So I was going to say, I think that, let me see. Yeah, I was going to say, as you kind of walk past the statue, the kind of featureless form, what do you do?
I just kind of want to have a quick look at it. I think last time we just sort of ran past it, and I want to make sure there's nothing about the statue that we should know beyond what it depicts and who it depicts. Because, it's one of those things that seems like it's a centerpiece, and it might have, I'm almost imagining it has like a little like skylight or something above it, and there's like, it seems front and center here, and we should look at it.
Absolutely. Tell me what you are doing in order to kind of decipher or kind of learn more about this centerpiece.
Yeah, I think it's like as Kyrrie like passes it, she like sees it again and just has this, and maybe it's because she's currently wearing the appearance of her elegance, but just like has this moment where she's looking at this statue, and it's weird because she's seeing someone who's not herself, but also kind of herself, and she has a weird sort of mirror ricochet, like this is my reflection, but not, and it's in stone or whatever material it's made out of. And I think that's what like causes her to pause. I think she calls back to the others, guys, there's something about this statue. And I think she like just starts to kind of look around it, like in its little crevices, like on its like, back sides, to see if there's like anything of note about this statue that might be hidden or otherwise, like something that wouldn't be apparent to an immediate, just first examination.
I will go ahead and give you the option you can go ahead and give me either a perception check, or you can use an intellect or magical knowledge check.
I think I will do an intellect roll. That sounds about right. So let's do that. And I will definitely add a bene here.
Cool.
That's a 9, so 10 total.
As you're kind of like, I think, describe how you're kind of interacting with this statue.
Yeah, I think she sort of gets down, she sinks to her, not quite her knees because, well, it's interesting, she's in a dress, but not. She's still respectful of the illusion, so she's going to act as though she's fully in a dress. And I think she like kind of curtsies almost, like starts to like on her, at that lower level, just sort of like going up into like the statue's, like basically how a sculptor would look at a statue, and thinking, okay, like this is how this line was curved and built, like starting to look at it less as the image of a figure and more as an artistic artifact. Like this is how it was built and engineered by someone.
There is something very interesting there's a couple things interesting about this statue. which is it is ever so slightly shifting in kind of form. Whatever it appears to be made out of appears to almost be like this kind of molten metal or molten material is probably the better word for it, because the material itself kind of seems to change and to shift. And there is one thing that you really, find your eye as a sculptor drawn to, which are, or kind of like somebody looking at things from the eyes of a sculptor. You're just very enraptured by the hands of the statue, because hands are incredibly hard to do in any medium, drawn, visual, otherwise. And so for a sculptor, they're an effective sculptor, especially, they're a particular point of pride or typically the weakest part of a piece. And these are almost like Michelangelo-esque in the perfection of the anatomy representation. And as your hand traces over the wrist of this statue, you feel a pulse.
I think that startles Kyrrie.
And you realize, with some either simultaneous shock and horror, that the statue itself is alive. In point of fact, with a pulse, with this kind of shifting nature of it, it strikes you that it should be able to move, but it can't.
Yeah, Kyrrie will relay this to the others. I think I found her elegance. Maybe.
What?
This is great.
Unfortunately, right? I don't think she's able to move or act of her own will.
1 second. Can I look at this with her eyes?
Absolutely.
Will that require a roll at all? Because I can just do it. Or
I think, well, tell me what you're trying to accomplish.
To verify what Kyrrie is telling us. I'm wondering if the eye sees anything different, or if it is true, if I could maybe give her eye back.
I will tell you, go ahead and I feel like this has something to do with magic. Mm-hmm. If you want to do something here, I will say that you may use sorcery in lieu of your other benes in order to augment your roll. So, yeah.
I will do that.
Go ahead and tell me what you do. And describe it for me, I should say.
Okay, yeah. Well, first off, just verifying what Kyrrie said. If there's anything that indicates that this statue could be her elegance, if the eye that I've acquired sees something like in the truth of that, because it's her eye. And then if that is true, could I find a way to give her eye back?
All right, go ahead and I'll tell you what, give me a sorcery roll.
Okay.
And feel free to use Swordledge or Benes however you need to.
I'm going to add 1 sorcery Bene to this.
Cool. I am going to turn a card. You just tell me what you get.
I got a 10.
You got a 10?
Yeah, I rolled a 9.
Okay. All right. Oh, no, guys.
Oh, no.
1 second. No, it's fine. I'm just trying to... Okay.
Tech and not story.
Is this tech? But okay. Technically, it's fine. Now.
That's what you want it. That's what you want to hear after you roll a high roll. Oh no, guys! Because I have flashbacks to the last time I rolled really well, and then it really was a no situation.
All right, so this is a great card for this. You drew the Endless Maze. Its meanings are journey, long spans of time, insanity, and inner turmoil. As within, so without. The maze that traps you, slows your journey, forces you to double back, and leads you where you don't want to go, might be a physical maze, or it might be your own decision, self-criticism, or self-doubt. To get where we need to go or do what we need to do, we have to conquer the mazes we find ourselves in. She had a map, but it would still be a long journey fraught with peril. So I will tell you what you see. You bring your eye level with where her eye would be on the statue. And as you look, it is like almost, even though there's no kind of, absence or kind of window to look through and peer through, it's almost as if you are looking through a keyhole and you see an elegant woman in a dress that has been reduced to rags, running fearfully through a hedge maze made of darkness. Terrible things seem to kind of loom and to reach for her as she turns every corner, and you realize it has been like this for her for some time as your vision quickly flashes to her perspective, and through one eye she is looking, and one eye closed from where a bramble of darkness has just kind of cut her face. She's looking around, and as if like a beacon, a light shines on her face, a golden one, and she sees your eye staring back at her eye specifically, staring back at her as like a tiny sun through a small portal. And when you take your face away, kind of moving and taken aback, you see that puzzle piece affix to the statue. Two eyes appear, and when you all look back, Gav has lost that golden eye, and you see two of its like on the face of a formerly featureless statue. And when you look to see Kyrrie, those eyes have also appeared.
Sorry, the statue has the eyes, or it's just Kyrrie?
The statues have the eyes, and Kyrrie's changed because her form reflects her elegance, has changed to match.
What is currently our Path of Suns?
You are at the very first card on the path, so the Silver Sun.
Okay. And we just played the maze?
The Endless
Correct.
Maze, yes.
The Endless Maze. What does that do?
Raven's Books in Flame. Secrets of Raven's Books in Flame.
And it accentuates blue, and it accentuates blue, and it weakens red.
Cool. Hey, what the fuck?
Kyrrie said that it was her elegance, so I thought that maybe I was trying to see if that was true. I guess it is.
I think this is clearly good. Duncan,
Hear us?
Yes, Father?
come here. I think we need to return her elegance's mouth.
No.
Indubitably, Father. And yeah, he kind of he turns to you.
He's the statue.
Father, I demand uppies.
Oh, is Father going to grant Duncan his darling son uppies?
Gonna need a supercut of everything that Duncan has said in this voice.
Maybe that.
Keep the voice by accident.
Keep watching the TikTok.
So yeah, I think Maurice will give uppies to Duncan and hold him mouth level with the statue.
And Duncan
Little kiss.
Duncan starts giving kind of like a sniff and then kind of an exploratory lick of the statue. However, you realize that Duncan cannot wield magic. So as talented as Duncan is, as wonderful a boy as he is, he cannot seem to manipulate the weave of reality. So it falls to you to try and do this. What are you going to do to make this happen?
Make them peace.
I think I'm just gonna shove some sortilege into this.
Okay.
And just kind of the whole while, like just whispering sweet nothings of who's a good boy.
Okay.
And yeah.
I will grant a +1 circumstance to this because Duncan
Very cute.
Duncan's very happy when you tell him how much you love him, and you are using sortilege, leveraging it as it were. So roll them dice.
So just because I have this feature, I'm going to use 2 sortilege because I can.
Okay. So roll 3 dice.
A total of 13, a 6, a 6, and a 1. And then we're going to add 1 to that, so a 14.
Excellent. So I will tell you this: the thing you only needed to roll a 6 on one of the dice, or have a total of 6. So in this case, because Gaffarion made that challenge handily, you force this. You using Duncan as a conduit. You the weave of magic that you weave snakes through his form, and when you pull Duncan away, you see those a pair of red demure lips now affixed to the statue, and again it begins mouthing the words soundlessly, mutely, without any sound escaping. Help me. Help me. Please help me. And when you take a look, Duncan's snout has returned to normal and has no more horrifying human lips on it. And you just see him look at you and just say, "Am I a good boy? Am I a good boy?"
Such a good boy.
And he just, again, takes the opportunity to turn and just starts licking your face.
Somehow less gross.
All right.
I think Kyrrie looks a little dejected. She's like, I liked his sort of princely voice.
As she says this, you realize there is now a mouth on her formerly featureless face saying those words.
Not going to lie, I did hope that she would be able to say other things with her mouth. Kind of like we're back at square one.
Can she hear us?
Not without any ears.
There are no ears on her.
But Duncan sent it a few other pieces, so why don't we start there?
Let's go.
I'd like to try something since we're announcing everything that we do now.
Yes, this is great. Twig, what would you like to try?
The statue's already alive. You cannot already bring it to life a second time.
I'm gonna send a message. It's fine. I'm just gonna... It's like a... You know what a pager is?
What?
No.
I mean, like pages in a book.
No. God.
It's me.
No.
I'm your reference friend.
What's a
Yeah.
pager?
It's... You know what a telephone is?
Yes, I'm not stupid.
It's like that, but it sends a message to a little thing.
So like
I'm
a
gonna send
radio.
a message. No, but silently.
It's like if a radio could send you a message silently that said, please use a telephone to call me.
That
Want
seems
a
like a lot
radio
of
sending me
extra
messages.
steps when you could just call somebody.
Honestly, yes.
But it's not attached to a wire.
Who are you going to contact using this pager-like facsimile, Twig?
I'm going to send a message to, her.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So,
I'd like to cast Psychic Missive.
okay.
It is a blue spell, so it is currently empowered.
Mhm.
I'm going to pay the extra sorcery cost to up it so that she can respond.
Mhm.
I'm going to double check something really fast because I have Paths of Creation rocking and rolling. I don't think that helps me. It does not. And yeah, so I'll spend 3 sortilege or 3 sorcery and cast that. What do I need to roll?
You will need to spend 4 because
Oh,
you are
spend-
under the effect of magical malaise. Everything is more expensive.
Okay.
You feel almost kind of like this morass kind of start kind of trying to pull at your casting of the spell in such a way that it kind of is slowing down your work. But you power through by forcing your will through that sorcery. So
You see Twig's cat ears flick in irritation.
what is the total level of the spell? How much once you've spent your sorcery?
Depends on the let's see. This empowers blue Secrets Raven's books is my family, but there's the Endless Maze empowers blue, right? Yeah. So that increases the level by 1, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that would be level 3 currently. I'm spending an additional 1 to allow her to respond. I don't know if that also increases the level or if it's just a secondary cost.
I will say so. However,
So that'd be 4.
you realize that there is some sort of barricade between, as you kind of like start casting the missive, you realize that wherever she is, it's basically acting to try to shield against the spell. So you have a level 4 spell that you're casting. So what you need, however, is to succeed twice. So make sure that because it's a spell, you are rolling an additional die. You need 2 on 2 dice in order for this to get through.
Okay, 2 on 2 dice. All right. And neither of these are magic dice, or one of them's a magic dice because it's a spell.
One is a magic die because it's a spell. And while you do that, I am going to turn a card.
Yay. Fuck. That's a 3 on the magic dice and a 0 on the non-magic dice.
And the card that I pulled was the Ghostly Presence. The past, guilt, unresolved issues. We all have our ghosts. They haunt us both metaphorically and, of course, literally. Do you remember? Do you remember what you did? I do. So the thing that strikes you is you get the sense that whatever you just cast, its effect is fleeting. So because you succeeded on 1 die, I will tell you this. You get the sense that your message is transmitting. What do you say?
We're here to help. Who did this to you?
And
We can see your eyes.
okay, is that
That's not creepy at all. I can see your eyes.
And yeah, I will tell you this. There is this kind of strangled, desperate cry that rings back in your ears. Avenant! He said his name was... And then nothing. But you know that she heard you. You just don't know how much time she has.
Yeah, I think Twig glances at Maurice and is clearly weighing whether or not to be catty about this.
Catty?
Yeah,
Catty?
then starts to wonder if the ears are affecting them. Does Avenant mean anything to anybody?
Hold that thought. I think Kyrrie hurries back into the room with the books and the telescope, grabs the book from which the page about the author came, the one that's the autobiography of, or the biography written by her brother of her Elegance, and I think flips to the index and looks for that name.
I will tell you right now, as you look through, you will not find that name in this book. You dexterously do this, I'll say, without even any roll. You just realize that whoever this is, or whatever that name means, it has no context outside of this book.
Yeah, I think she...
Or inside of this book. Yeah.
You hear from the other room, there's no record of it in the history of her life, or at least lived to date.
Well, could
Really
be
good
visitor.
initiative. Really good initiative. Again, please, can we stop running off on our own to places? It's so difficult, you guys.
I think Kyrrie comes back. Her head's hanging a little. But I just had to consult a book.
And you did great. But like, we're all working on this. Okay. Avenant sounds like Covenant. Sounds like average.
Sounds like Vespertine agent?
Yeah, sure. Keep spitting it out. Kyrrie, you understand the words.
Most of the time, yeah.
Do you have a way to divine? Wait a minute. Well, only if he was asleep. Assuming I could find the location of Avenant if Avenant were asleep. That's what I can do.
Well, should we not maybe focus on restoring her elegance first?
Maybe
Kyrrie can handle that.
that's true. I don't see anyone stopping us from doing that.
And like I said before, Duncan got the scent of a few other pieces.
Right. We're trying to move forward into a different room. Where should we go?
Duncan, fetch.
Okay. What? Did you throw something?
Did you you scented more of those pieces? Look on the statue.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Could you show us where another one is?
Okay. I'll take you to the one that was smelling weird.
Oh, good. Just the one was smelling weird.
Okay. And he starts bounding off past the foyer and starts scratching at one of the doors that you guys have not entered into that seems to lead to the eastern wing of the house. There is something that is nagging at the back of your head, Maurice. I'd like you to make another intellect roll.
Sure, I'll spend 3 on this.
Okay. While you do this, Gaffarion, as you're crossing the foyer with your vision restored to its normal kind of modus, you see something interesting. You see splinters around the front door, which had closed behind you, as if something was giving these massive grand doors a pull, and was pulling so hard that they began, fracturing the frame.
And those weren't there when the doors first shut when we got here.
They were not.
Okay, so there's some kind of like gravity or some thing.
I was gonna say, if you'd like to learn more, let me know, but and tell me how you want to do that. But Maurice, how did you do on your intellect roll?
I spent 3 bene and got a total of 4.
Okay. Something about that creature, that soul devourer that kind of opened the world around you, it isn't sitting well with you. You're realizing something about it that is nagging at you. You just can't think and place in your mind what.
And the double doors, you said they were looking as if somebody was trying to break in from the outside?
Like somebody was trying to pull their way out.
Someone was trying to pull their way out.
I think Gav is going to focus on following Duncan still, but is prepared for company.
Okay. All right. So do all of you guys follow Duncan? Cool.
Let's go.
All right.
Yeah.
So as you follow Duncan, he is scratching at this very ornate wooden door that, again, that material shifts, and suddenly the door seems to almost be made of marble, and in another moment parts of it start translucing and turning into glass. And as you open the door, the thing that is been interesting to you on the face of this door is it seems to be manifesting different almost floral style patterns. And when you walk through the threshold of that door, you are hit by an immense wave of heat as you find yourselves inside of the cusp of what looks to be a massive greenhouse. As you look across the room, you just see a kaleidoscope of colors of every different variety of flower and plant abound. And not only that, but it seems like you could find there are thousands of species in this place. And one thing you notice is the soil and the paths kind of winding around this greenhouse. They shift ever so slightly and minutely, but the flowers themselves seem to stay in a semi-permanent state in those soil beds, as if they have been enchanted to stay there. What do you all do?
Twig snuffles the air. Fucking blowing through sorcery. It's fucking cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Spending 3, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking malaise. I don't need to. I'm depressed in real life. I don't need to be depressed in game. For a moment, I gained the ability to sense magic by its unmistakably and unique odor. Not only can I sense the presence of active magic near me, but I can use an action to examine a specific magical effect or item. I can also identify it. The color is indigo, and the facet is meta magic.
Okay.
So I think just kind of goes like at Maurice, and Twig is in full bratty teenage mode, and just.
Yeah. I will tell you a couple things here, which is your nostrils are overwhelmed by the scent of many different magics from all across the actuality. Every plane, every sun is represented here, from the deeps of sleep and blue to the shores of the mountains of the silver sun, from the corrosive heat of the red sun. You feel and smell it all. It is overwhelming to your senses, and it is very vivid. However, with your affinity for the green sun and for life in general, you find yourself able to kind of pull your focus back, because otherwise anybody else who had cast that spell would be immediately overwhelmed. So my question is, as you try to narrow your focus, what are you looking for?
I'm looking for anything that's not from the day side.
Okay. Not from what side?
The day side of the suns.
Okay. Yeah, I think that there is, deep in this greenhouse, you sense two distinct, really several distinct buds, one of which you notice is from the dark side of pale. However, the other thing that strikes you about this place is that as you begin smelling the flowers, they begin evoking feelings. And you realize with some chagrin that this is a synesthesia greenhouse. So my question is, as you smell something from the blue sun and you try to sharpen your senses on this dark side of the pale what feeling does it evoke in you, and what do you taste as part of it?
I think it evokes a deep sense of wonder. And what I taste is the crispness of a description of an explorer who had reached the far edges of one of the suns. And I'm going to say probably the blue, but an explorer who just longed to see the edge of things. And this was a biography that I read and I wasn't supposed to read, and I got yelled at about it, and that I ate it, okay? And it has a very distinct taste, and it's deep and rich, but also melancholy.
All right.
Kind of like a sad cheesecake.
Love that. A sad cheesecake. Similarly, I think the rest of you begin catching whiffs without this kind of color of magic associated with the scents themselves. So I am wondering what each of you smells as these kind of like scents waft through the air. Is there anything in particular? And honestly, if you want to make up a flower, there's plenty of room to do that in this garden of creation here.
I have a question. If there are plants here from all over the suns, are there any from the half suns?
Okay.
Or like the half worlds, specifically maybe mine?
All right. I would like you to give me a perception roll.
Okay.
And we do need a card pull for Twig's magic, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, absolutely we do.
Do that first. I want to know.
In fact, that might... Ooh, okay. This one is different. The suspicious hound. Doubt, suspicion, lack of clarity, judgment, and decisions. The hound stands sentinel, and you approach, but you don't want the suspicious hound to be focused on you. Snarling and glaring, the hound isn't certain of its enemies, but once it decides you are a danger, that's almost certainly a bad thing. However, the hound is also representative of our own doubts and difficult decisions. In many ways, we are the suspicious hound, or at least we ought to be. A negative card turn, the suspicious hound typically suggests that one is plagued with doubt and indecision, or it might just suggest that one doesn't have enough information to make a good decision yet. Judgment must be passed, and a decision must be made, but there's no clarity yet. If one is looking for an answer, that answer is too difficult to tell. Try again later. No good can come from rousing the hound's suspicions. So, this is a negative card turn, but I want you to describe for me how you're kind of searching about and what you're looking for.
I will point out that it does strengthen indigo.
Ooh.
Which is the color of the spell I cast that triggered this card pull. Just saying.
Okay.
Also is sniffing, so what the fuck, Money Cook? Which?
Well, in terms of what Gav was about to do, she's not deliberately looking for a plant from her home world. She wouldn't know where to start with that. I think she came in here looking for another piece of the puzzle to put her elegance back together. If we want to really lean into the negativeness of the card, we could say she gets distracted by something that hits her.
I think it's...
And...
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, what are you going to say? Go ahead.
I think we're about to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like there's this scent of something that she has never encountered before, but is a complete distraction from finding that puzzle piece.
Absolutely. You, as you are kind of walking through this garden, I think you're trying to stay close to your compatriots, but there's just this scent that seems to kind of overwhelm you for a moment. And I think that you begin following it only just like a couple of steps ahead, just a couple of steps, and Maurice won't mind that. It'll be fine.
Surely not.
Yeah, you can still see me. and you find a flower, almost like a lotus, that has flowered, and as it flowers, there's almost this image that kind of elicits out of it, almost like a Pepper's ghost or like a holographic image. And you see a family embracing. But as you make out that family, you realize that in their features that these are your people. At least one of them is. And one that you also recognize, however, is you recognize the image of your mother and your father, and they are embracing you. And that's when your eyes travel up to make eye contact with the dial that sprung itself loose from the orrery, and it's watching you with interest. You have a split second before it recognizes that you can see it. What do you do?
I don't know if I'd establish this dial as necessarily a threat to me.
Okay. How do you react?
I think very casually, I'll look up but then look down again at the flower and just say, an interesting place to hide.
Did you say an interesting place to die?
To hide.
To hide.
Also a good line, though. Remind me of that one another time.
An interesting place to die,
An
Mr.
interesting
Bond.
place to die.
I think on that note, we're going to take a 10-minute break. All right, so guys, let's go ahead and come back. Thank you so much for joining us, for watching us and our return to the actuality. We will be back in 10 minutes to follow up with the next half of the session, so stay tuned.
Goodbye, good luck. I'll miss you. Remember me vividly. But when I
Welcome back, everybody, to the actuality, to the hole in the world, our Invisible Sun RPG. As you guys know, before the break, we had some very interesting stuff happen. Namely, you guys kind of started figuring out where her Elegance was in the midst of this accursed malicious Manor, finding her in kind of trapped inside of a statue, or perhaps herself trapped as the statue in the centerpiece of the foyer. You guys also managed to impart both her eye and her mouth back onto her form, which you realize might be a very important part of rendering her animate once again, or rather less kind of cursed in her state. And not only that, but you guys followed Duncan towards a synesthesia greenhouse, where you guys are starting to make some discoveries of the plants and varietals here in this room. However, one thing that transpired as you were kind of moving to investigate the greenhouse is that Gaffarion managed to spot your newly awakened friend, the dial from the orrery of her Elegance's astronomy observatory. So it's in this moment that we're going to come back. But before we kind of pursue what is transpiring between the Dial and Gav, I'm very curious, as I put on the music, what other things are Maurice and Kyrrie doing in this moment?
After you.
Well, I think Kyrrie is just sort of wandering the greenhouse. I think, she had maybe a rudimentary, botany of the suns class. She didn't really pursue that line of study at the Vancian campus, but definitely was part of her core curriculum. She had to have some working knowledge. That's how she knew what she knew about the pale seeds as well. Way back when. But I think, so some of these plants are familiar to her. She's seen them mostly as very almost, I think, 19th century illustration type, very, very highly illustrated, in pages of books. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of these plants she's not seen in person ever, but she recognizes some of them. I think for Kyrrie, one that catches her eye is something that she's only ever read about, and she's seen, but never seen before until now. But it's an aquatic flower hailing from the vast ocean called the Alone, and it's called the first breath after holding it. It is reputed by a lot of scholars that if you consume enough of this particular aquatic flower, it will grant you the ability to breathe underwater for a set amount of time.
I love that. And what memory, as you describe its scent for me, and not only that, what memory does that scent evoke? What additional kind of sensual feature is kind of triggered by it?
I think it smells like sea salt and deep, dark ocean. Not the level of ocean that I think where this flower naturally grows is in the lower, kind of the deeper parts of the ocean, and it stretches up like kelp towards the light. And that's when it is harvested, how it can be harvested. It's a very tall flower. And so I think it smells of mystery and darkness and shroud and shadow, but also it's just got definitely a sort of sea-ishness. It's got that sort of tang to it when you smell the flower, but at the same time, when you stick your nose deeper into the blossom, you get past the salt and you start to smell possibility. I think that's fundamentally one of the things this flower's scent is known for. And in fact, I think maybe somewhere in the actuality, they made a perfume from this particular blossom. And for Kyrrie, interestingly enough, that sharp sort of punch of salt water, of sea, it triggers a memory she hasn't thought about in a long, long time, which was going to the Alone with Allegra when she was a little girl and being by the shore and walking along it with her sister and just basically picking up shells and talking and throwing fistfuls of sand at each other and splashing in the waves.
As you have this memory is triggered, I'm going to pull a card, and I will describe for you what I get. The Golden Ship. Wealth earned, honor, prestige, and respect. There are many ships, but only one golden ship. This legendary vessel supposedly carries only the greatest heroes, the most influential celebrities, the highest nobles, and the most powerful Vislay to ports of call most people cannot even imagine. Even seeing the ship is a great honor. It represents wealth and prestige. A highly positive card, the Golden Ship suggests that one will earn wealth, fame, or respect, or all three. It presages a successful endeavor, but usually only if that endeavor is grand in scope. The golden ship does not waste its time on petty actions or minor deeds. Alternatively, this card turn might suggest the intervention, again probably in a positive way, of someone wealthy, well-respected, or influential. This is the first time I think I've drawn this, guys. The starry sky is our ocean. We set sail for eternity.
Wow, thematically on point.
So there's something that I think that niggles at your mind as you think on this, because I think as you kind of remember this voyage to the alone, in your mind, you remember seeing a golden ship as it passed. But that can't be right. Isn't the golden ship more of like a child's story? There's something about this memory that doesn't add up. Something that is eluding you, and that you kind of find yourself staring off in the middle distance and through this greenhouse as you kind of try to puzzle this out. Something about this doesn't ring true. But as you continue to look, you see something else that you have recognized from your study, from your research. A flower that can only be found in the silver sun. And you see in a small patch, almost like a Shakespeare garden, apart from the rest of this greenhouse, a small sitting area, a mound on which is planted several of God's tulips. And we're going to cut from you. Maurice, what do you see in the greenhouse?
I think he is fully lost his ability to keep track of the other humans, as he has a dog that is going absolutely nuts in this overstimulating place. And as he kind of attempts to corral Duncan, he is following an odor that is kind of like that sense you get when you're like, do I smell gas? Is there actually gas? And then it kind of twists to turpentine, more piney, and then it twists all the way back to gasoline. And Maurice is kind of struck with this kind of looping image of him scrubbing and wiping the windshield of a car as he fills it up on some road trip, imagined or real, he can't quite sure, but it's scrubbing the guts of the insects and wiping with the squeegee, cleaning it with a paper towel, scrubbing, wiping, cleaning, scrubbing, wiping, cleaning. And he looks up and he can't find Duncan.
As you look up, there's a flash of something in this thought of the car as something kind of intercedes and intersects with this memory. And you realize it is a true memory. The surface on which you are wiping, you realize that you are wiping the top of your eyes when you were the Spider Prince, as well as your forehead, wiping sweat away in the aftermath of a battle. And the insects you see arrayed out before you are true ants. Stabbed, ensorcelled, killed by your countrymen, perhaps by you. But just as quickly as that memory intercedes, there's a flash of something and it's gone. Again, you're just wiping a car. And as disturbing as that moment is, you are immediately thrown back into sharp relief of reality as you realize Duncan is missing. What do you do?
Okay. Do I see anybody else? Is anybody else within eyesight?
I will tell you that. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna leave this to everybody else. Have you guys all wandered off out of vision?
Probably, but I don't think I'm so far away as all that.
Okay. Twig, Kyrrie.
Yeah, I think Kyrrie is definitely like in her own sort of like enclave, but like I think she can hear if someone is shouting.
I was gonna say this is a very large greenhouse, but all of you hear Maurice very clearly. Twig, are you?
Twig's probably the only person who hasn't wandered off. They're kind of in this very like I would say because of the way we scent of magic played out. I think they've basically not moved at all. They're almost rooted in place.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just processing just an immense amount of information.
Yeah.
So Maurice shouts out, sound off, everyone. Is everyone okay? This place is a bit weird.
As you hear Maurice's request, the dial inclines its head at you with folded arms, Gabrielle, and you just see its head tick, almost like an owl's head moving laterally instead of turning around. It's
Do
waiting.
I get this? Yeah, I got the sense that it's waiting on what I'm going to do, and I look back up at it.
Yeah.
I don't have to tell them you're here.
What is your purpose here?
We seek to put Elegance back together. It seems there was an attack. Or an infiltration. You tell me.
I'm going to turn a card. The Conspirator, the Defender of Secrets, Ravens, Books, and Flame. Meanings: upheaval, hidden agendas, and gossip. The conspirator keeps to the shadows, whispering with others like her. How many conspirators are there? Who is involved? We never know. Those hushed whispers in the right or wrong ears can tear us all apart, bring us all crashing down. The conspirator is the defender of secrets. She guards them and the family they represent. It is her role to know the secrets and spread them as needed, whispering to just the right people at the right time. She speaks in words of power, but a different kind of power. Interesting. Whose card family is that? At which point, the dial makes a decision. Lead on. I'll follow. For now.
Very well. I'm over here, and I found a friend.
And here you hear Duncan sound off at one side of the other side of the greenhouse.
Let's all meet at Gav unless someone has a better idea. Does someone have a better idea?
Oh, you're going to want to come over here.
What Gav said.
Okay. What are the rest of you doing?
Twig is still. There's two sources of nightside plants.
Well, there's a few.
There's a few.
Yeah, but
There's
is
two
there
strong ones, or you said?
There is one very strong scent, and it seems to be very prominent, figure prominently in the center of this greenhouse. It's not a huge room, but you do have to basically kind of wade through all of these plants. I'd say it's probably, the room itself is probably about 50 feet by 50 by 100, so it's very long. But that said, like the flower beds, the pots, the various kind of plants surrounding here are planted in such a way that it's fairly labyrinthine in the central garden. So
does Green Thumb have any effect on this at all? As Twig is like deeply tied into growing things.
Absolutely.
And life and rampant life especially.
I will say, because of Green Thumb, I will say that take one sorcery back as you find yourself more in your element. I will say that while you are in this room, you are not affected by magical malaise.
Honestly, that tracks.
Okay.
I always feel better when I'm around a bunch of cool plants.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, did you just literally have me touch grass? Fuck you, Zach. Wait a minute.
You having a bad time? Touch some grass.
Gotta go talk to some trees, become a person again.
Yeah, you joke, but
Oh, I'm so not actually.
Twig is going to just a second. There's something I need to look at.
Okay.
And head directly towards that the source of that scent. What sun is it from on the night side?
The night side
OGM.
Night side of pale.
Ah, yes. Yeah. Twig's gonna head over there.
Okay.
I think wading through plants that just kind of either caress or move to out of their way as they wade through this greenhouse of just feelings and sensations and memory.
You end up finding this patch in the heart of this greenhouse. And you know that all of the plants on it are from the pale or from the pale adjacent. Because you begin taking a look at the earth as it shifts in color under your feet and almost becomes enervated and fallow. And you start to wonder how anything can survive in this soil, and then you realize, oh no, that's the earth in which these plants prosper. A lack of nutrients, a lack of hope, a lack of life is actually nurturing to this.
Are
And
there any pale seeds in this patch?
I'm so glad you asked. There are a number of pale seeded plants. You recognize very, very clearly several death pods have fallen to the earth, having not been maintained. And where one or two of them have burst into the ground, you just see them make almost a crater into the earth. But there are several that are still intact.
Twig would like to harvest any that are ready to be harvested. And I think I would also like to pull one from one of my many, many pockets of this jacket that is covering the armor of the 13th hour.
Okay.
And force it into the ground, I think. I'm imagining there's probably some blood involved in this.
Oh, absolutely. So, what is the aim of this?
To take and to give.
Okay. So, I will say, go ahead and give me a roll. This is going to take careful handling, so roll physicality.
Okay. Physicality.
Mm-hmm.
I will put a bene into that. I'm full.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna save my sortilege. I currently have my defender up. Does that give me a bonus?
Gives you +2.
All right. And am I rolling just straight 1 dice?
Yeah, I will say, unless you wish to employ magic or sortilege or whatever additional
I don't think
means.
this is like an explicit spell. I think this is just the raw magic of self.
Okay.
And that is a 6 plus 2 plus 1 for 9.
With a 9, you deftly take up 3 pods in your hands as you plant the 1. So you have a net gain of 2. And as you take a look at this plant, as you plant it into the earth at your feet, you feel like something about these are different. The pod that you plant seems more potent, and almost in your hand, it feels more rapacious than the ones that you pick up instead. And you plant this pod, trading it, and yet at the same time, as powerful as these pods are, there's something different about what you have given up into the soil. Then you may add those to your inventory.
I have done so.
And that's when your eyes travel and find a familiar set of paw prints, first leading to and then leading away. As if you realize that Duncan came when he was called. And there is, in this patch of pale, there is this beautiful orchid growing off of a desolate tree, as if all of the shadow and the darkness that empowers this plant have been funneled into the petals of this one flower. Its stamen is almost like a glowing tip of an angler's antenna. It seems to have fulged this one pinpoint of bright light that seems to penetrate your vision. You hear Maurice calling. What do you do?
What does it smell like?
I need you to make a withstand roll. You need to get a 6 twice.
I can do that. Let's see here. We've got resist. We've got dodge. If I don't have withstand, of course I don't. I have +2 to my actions.
Mm-hmm.
And let me see if my armor helps me at all. No. Resist is not withstand. Those are different.
Withstand is basically what happens in order to withstand, like a disease or an ongoing effect or condition.
Okay, I don't think I have anything that explicitly helps me with this.
Okay.
So it's just the +2, and I need to get, and I will spend a sortilege on this.
All right. Roll them dice.
I'm rolling just 2 dice, correct?
2 dice.
Yeah, because I need to spend the sortilege in order to do this, which is a bummer. And I need to get 4s.
You need
ups.
to get 4 twice.
I just nearly had a heart attack. I thought one was a 7. I thought the other one was a 1 for a second, but it is also a 7. That is 2 7s.
All right. I will tell you this.
My pulse just went up 30 beats per minute.
That is very good. I would like you to describe for me a memory or a thought in you that evokes true despair.
Oh, well, obviously, it's them.
Could you be more specific?
I think I think that this. Ooh, can I use? Here's a question, Zach. Can I use hidden knowledge to make you do the emotional labor on this?
You may certainly spend a point in order for me to expound and spout lore.
Specifically, I would like a memory that Twig had not previously had, that involves Okris or our friendly neighborhood vampire.
The memory that is evoked is the day in which Kej bound you into service. And then bound you inextricably from Okris. I still need you to describe what was the most horrifying part of that day.
Got that. I think the day... Oh, yeah. It was being ripped apart and then ripped out of my world and then still missing pieces of me being forcibly amalgamated.
And there is
jammed into a jar that's too small with something else.
And as if in mockery of Kesh's work, you flash to a second memory, which is of King 9 slamming your amalgamated form into Kestrel, as if to punish upon them for the hubris of daring to oppose the Ninth King. And as you flash back at those glowing coal-like ember eyes looking through you and smiling at his handiwork, you flash once again back to remembering that same look as he was looking at you from the candle flame throne, and you know that he knew exactly what you were, who you were, and you were none the wiser. And you feel, finally, in your many pockets, from all of the suffering that you have endured, how you have basically harvested your emotion for him. And your pockets are heavy with the crystal orbs that you signed that contract for with King 9.
God damn it.
And that's what you get. But when you emerge, something's different.
Like, I feel like all of this took place and, like, probably felt like it took, like, an eternity. And then, like, it's Maurice is not even done calling.
Oh, yeah. What do you do?
What smells different? Zach, you can't say something like that. What smells different?
As you move to just, I think, kind of grip your head, in sorrow, in kind of just pain, remembering all of this horror, you feel a bump where there shouldn't be. And your nose is a lot more aquiline than you remember it being.
Get sniffed, idiot.
I think Twig just thumps the hood up on the jacket and sulkily stalks through this greenhouse to where Maurice is calling.
Okay. Kyrrie, you hear Maurice calling.
Think, Kyrrie, in a minute, I found something. And I think she's still preoccupied by this memory that suddenly seems like there's something wrong with it. And she can't quite put her finger on what. She remembers seeing the golden ship. She remembers Allegra. She remembers Allegra saying, someday I'm going to be on that ship. Someday I'm going to be great. But was it Allegra who said it? Or was it her? Now, granted, childhood memories are always fuzzy, unreliable. She can't have been very old at the time. But she had been so sure it was Allegra. But what she does remember with unshaking clarity is Allegra looking her in the eyes coolly and fixing her with a level, tactical stare. She remembers her saying, nobody gives you greatness. You have to take it. And I think Kyrrie looks at the god's tulips. She promised Frigeliva. She promised to help her. She promised to find her lover in the Pale and restore them. That was how she was going to earn god's tulips. But they're right here. And in her mind, I think she hears the voice of her sister. Take them. I would. Of course, she's just imagining that. Or is she? And Zach, correct me if I'm wrong, but this feels like a resist roll.
Absolutely. With a resist roll, I will say yes. This feels like it's at the core of who you are and what you want. So I will let you set the difficulty. And I will introduce a complication. I will turn a card. And we will see. Actually, you know what? That's better. I'm going to let the card determine the difficulty here.
Oh no, I don't like that noise.
Oh my. The Messiah. The defender of visions, swans, blade, and water. Remind me, whose is that? Okay. Many fear change, others embrace it eagerly, often not always, but often the former live happy and satisfying situations while the latter do not. In other words, change is a salvation that not everyone needs. The Messiah is the defender of the Visions family. She defends by changing the things that threaten or menace. As a defender, the Messiah is particularly concerned with families and the bonds of love that exist there. She brings salvation, but at the cost of changing everything in your existence. Its number is 7. You need to beat a 7 in order to resist this.
Okay. Oh boy.
Sorry,
So I have
another
a-
bit of text on that card is the Messiah can indicate the involvement of a family member, like a parent or a sibling. This involvement is not always positive.
Witchcraft.
I don't. No words for that, except this is spellcraft from beyond. All right, I've got a +1 to resist, so that's something, but otherwise it's a straight roll.
Okay.
So here we go. That is a 9. +1 is a 10.
So describe this for me as you find your hand reaching for the flower. What do you do to resist this call?
I think she suddenly starts back into herself as she realizes that she's reaching forward to take something which isn't hers, something which she hasn't earned, something which doesn't belong to her. And I think her hand literally she catches her own wrist with her other hand and just stares as though like, I didn't do that. I didn't reach for that. Was that me? And I think she just has a moment where, just like that memory being destabilized and like uncertain, she suddenly thinks, do I have complete control here? But I think whatever has happened in that moment, she has resisted it. And I think she almost like recoils in horror from like what she was about to do and how specifically, like what had happened to create that sort of pattern of logic that led her to that action. And I think she looks at these like beautiful God's tulips just blooming in the greenhouse, and she imagines them decaying, wilting, ossifying in the ground.
I will note one thing. You know for a fact that these tulips could probably help your friend Twig, but it is up to you whether or not you decide to take them into your hands. And I will say that to reach for them now still feels very alien to you. It feels disquieting. What do you do?
There is, I think, a little voice in the back of her mind that says, it doesn't have to be for you. After all, that's never what you wanted them for. And if you're taking them for someone else, is it really such a bad thing?
You recognize the voice of the seed speaking to you.
And I think the text on that card, I know she passed her resistance roll, but she still can choose. I think the text on that card really, the emphasis on change and like the ability of one small act to have a destabilizing ability or a destabilizing effect on something or someone. I think she takes one. Not the whole plant. Just one bloom. Buckets it. And then hurries away as though it never happened.
As you hurry away, you just have a distinct moment where you think to yourself, was Aiden on that beach? And you rejoined the collective of Visley back in the center of the greenhouse. But you watch with trepidation as a figure kind of shimmers into the air next to Gaffarion. All of you recognize the creature that Twig awakened and created, and you also have the tacit recognition that Gaffarion was able to see this thing while it was hiding in plain sight of all of you. And it looks at all of you kind of expectantly, and then kind of again inclines its knob-like face at you, Gaffarion.
Well, should we do proper introductions this time?
I would introduce myself, but I don't have a name.
I believe that means you can decide a name for yourself.
And it looks balefully at Twig.
Twig does like a little sarcastic little half bow.
Call me Call me Gaffarion.
All right, Gaffarion. You can call me Gabrielle.
It kind of almost sarcastically nods its head in a bow. You don't know if it's meaning you disrespect or if that's just its way.
Maurice puts out a hand and says, Maurice Webb, nice to meet you.
And a hand kind of very tentatively grips yours, and you realize it's got some press to its palm. It has flesh as though it has, and you realize that as you kind of take in its countenance and its form, that its dial face is the most distinctive part of its body, but its robes and its flesh are almost in a imitation of the soiled, but more pristine in its form, but it's very much an imitation of the guests that you've seen around the house, as if it didn't know what shape to take, so it took one that it was most familiar with. So, I have the pleasure of your acquaintance, and I must thank you for bringing me to life, as I cannot seem to leave this place. Really, I'm very grateful. It just, again, balefully looks at you, Twig.
Life's a gift, isn't it?
One we do not ask for on occasions.
Perhaps we can help you. Well, if we are able to bring her elegance back, perhaps that will open new doors for you, literally and figuratively.
I'm listening.
Well, her elegance seems to be broken up into multiple puzzle pieces, and best we can tell, one of them resides here. Do you have any insight into its location or the nature of the trouble her elegance is in the first place?
Well, I believe... Sorry, go ahead.
Can I do a quick perception check now that we're all together?
You may. What are you looking for?
Oh, I couldn't. I'll tell you in a minute. Just looking at my friends. And their faces that definitely haven't changed in the last 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That's another 9.
You notice, almost tattoo-like, the lines of a jigsaw just above Twig's exposed lips under the hood.
Yeah, Gav was before just sort of like just looking at everyone's facial expressions for being introduced to our new friend, and then stops on you, Twig, and is just sort of, yeah. Twig, any thoughts on where we might find another piece of her elegance?
I think Duncan may have had the right idea.
Yeah, I think that he did.
What's wrong with your voice? Oh.
It's decidedly a much more nasal voice than you have all heard uttered from Twig.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Well, we can just go back to the statue and back on that.
I mean, I guess we don't need your help anymore, Gaffarion. The answer was under our nose, as it were. Just kidding. We need all of the help. Gaffarion, what do you know?
Well, I know that her elegance did not have the best in company most recently. I found someone pressing and attempting to ascertain more information from the orrery than I was used to. Most of her guests look on in wonder at the path of suns laid bare. They don't even notice me. But I know a great deal of information about many things. You'll have to be more specific.
Do you know who? What was the name? Avenant is?
Avenant. I believe I heard it uttered in passing. I think spoken by her Elegance as she was giving a tour to this one. I think she did not realize that she'd let a viper among her. Or her guests, for that matter. It does certainly ring familiar.
Do you know if they're still here?
Oh, no one has left here in some time. I'm amazed that you found your way in. This place is always moving, always changing, and yet you cannot desire to be here. You have to somehow forget that need or somehow find another means of entering the manor. So, once again, I'm very surprised that you all have seemed to have not only found your way in, but found such fragments of her elegance.
Well, we're not done yet. Can we leave this place? I don't like this room overmuch. And you can come with us, please, Gaffarion.
Very well. Let us walk and talk, then.
Maurice very exaggeratedly, holds his breath and tries not to smell anything else.
Yeah, you guys make your way out, and I think Duncan is padding up kind of alongside Gaffarion and sniffs, and then kind of recoils and whimpers a little bit. And there is just a smirk that lights up on the dial's face. So, what has brought you to this place? I don't imagine anybody would have found anything but a moldering pile of corpses before you arrived.
Oh, we came here express.
I suppose you did. You don't seem to be the kind that find means of cunning entry. More of a brute force type. And he just kind of surveys all of you.
Sometimes you just have to send it.
I don't think we're the ones that damaged this door. If we're passing back into the foyer, she's going to gesture to the cracks that are forming.
Well, I didn't have much of an option, did I? And yeah, he just kind of snaps.
That was you. And here I was thinking it might have been a mutual enemy. Apologies.
You know, sometimes brute force is the only way to deal with things. And sometimes you can be clever about it, but...
And he looks back at you, said, I believe there is nothing clever about gazing so longingly into the void.
Is that what the guest did as well?
Yes, but I think he was plumbing its depths for something.
What do you think he was looking for?
What do any of their sort look for? Other means of employing or receiving power, I imagine. That ship sailed long ago.
What do you mean by that?
The Black Sun has been dispersed and disseminated.
The Black Sun?
Oh, yes. Did you think it was all loving colors and vivid and saturated hues upon which to look from the lofty perch of the Path of Suns? Oh, no. Along the path there used to be a darkness, a reminder to the rest of the suns how disparate they were, how
The void.
unlike. Yes, Well, one could call it that. It was a reality. Much like they are, much like a different shifting perspective. But one of darkness, darkening countenances, one without hope.
So if I was a creature without hope, trapped in an ever-changing, ever-moving building, where would I hide?
I am not a creature of the dark. But if you are speaking of Avenant, I imagine he is in her Elegance's quarters upstairs. It seems to be the most defensible and the most useful wing of the house,
Well,
as
that's
it were.
quite a lead.
I am a part of this house. I know it well. I know its environs. I know the other rooms, as once again I am part and parcel of it.
Would you show us?
Well, let's not be too hasty, everybody. I mean, we still have more puzzle pieces to find. What if we are doing this too quickly, too soon, prematurely?
Has it stopped you before?
I'm really trying to start that as a new habit.
And yet you are the one who invoked your secret soul, whilst a soul devourer sniffed on these grounds. And you realize, Maurice, as he says that, what's been percolating at the back of your brain, which was, this thing was haunting you, probably before Twig turned the dial.
So, but I didn't. There wasn't any
Option?
What do you mean?
What do I mean?
Look, I if I made a mistake, I'm sorry. I just think, Gav, do you think we should just march right into the most defensible place in the house?
Oh, no. What I'd like to know is where it is. And is it quite possible? Speaking from having advantageous positions, if I was the one trying to gain control of this house, I would make sure that I held the last piece of the puzzle.
And he is going to take a look at, he's in the grand foyer, and he's going to take a look around, and I'm going to turn a card for him. Ooh, another good one. Guys, I'm just pulling all the face cards here. The Vizier, the nemesis of notions, cats, clocks, and wind.
Oh my god, that's me!
Manipulation, sycophant, power, and influence. Lurking in the shadows, the Vizier controls from a distance. They do not sit upon a throne, but instead are the power behind that throne. They don't make laws, they circumvent them, but they do it to further the ends of the ruler, the land, or perhaps themselves. The Vizier has secret agendas within agendas. Their smooth words manipulate everyone, even the ruler they supposedly serve. Thus, they have much of the real power and influence. Are they acting in the best interests of the ruler or themselves? How can we ever be certain? The Vizier is the nemesis of notions. They cannot be trusted. Someone is manipulating things behind the scenes, and that's almost certainly bad for the person in question. One must look for where the real power is, because this card turn suggests that it isn't where one thinks it is. The Vizier can also mean that there is a way for one to manipulate the people involved in one's goals through careful words, clever words, coercion, or extortion. The right words in the right ear can be more potent than any spell. It's a nemesis. However, I think that Gaffarion knows exactly what's going on. And he looks at all of you and looks back at you and then looks back up at the end of the grand staircase where a glow is effulging over the banisters. Are you telling me that none of you thought to look up there?
No, I'm saying is that we just got here and we've been combing through the rooms one by one.
Interesting. I would wager that whatever magic is sealing this place, that is its fount. I don't think, and I think Gaffarion just moves forward and pulls your hood back. Twig, just to look you in the face.
Ears immediately go all the way back aggressively.
And he looks at you and looks back at the statue in the center. Is clever. These are not some means by which she has been locked. These are the means of her salvation. She scattered herself. Is that not clear? This is a house of the senses. Of course she would scatter her face, her senses around to be found and placed. That is the font of her power. He looks at all of you exasperated.
It is a little on the nose.
At which point he grabs your nose on your face and pulls you to the statue.
I think Twig whaps him. It's just absolutely not. It doesn't say that, but just whap. And again, does that, realizes what just happens, and becomes deeply uncomfortable. You can just see kind of a wrinkle of disgust. Twig's just kind of face kind of goes this, and then they think about that.
Yes, by all means, please resist the urge to save yourselves. I want to get out. Can you get me out?
We can kill Vespertine, restore her elegance, and hopefully that gets you out. Would you like us to do in which order? We could destroy the Vespertine now, but Maurice doesn't seem too keen on that, although I'm always keen on that. We could also continue finding pieces of her elegance, restore her, save her by killing said Vespertine agent that caused her to scatter herself. Again, I ask.
I know the way this house normally works. I know its ins and its outs, but it has been corrupted. I would hope that by your means, as inept as they may be, we may be able to find a way to purge this agent.
Well then, perhaps that means we should change the order in which we're handling things. Maurice, with your permission, we could go talk to this Vespertine agent.
I love that you guys think that I want to be in charge. All I want is for us to run ideas by each other so that we're not just running off and doing things.
This is me asking.
Anybody else? Thoughts?
Kyrrie has been, for the past couple of minutes, fixing Gaffarion with a very scrutinizing gaze. There are a couple of things that Gaffarion has said that just seem a little interesting. She noted his impatience, the sort of instinct to flare at certain things, like when Gav pointed out the splinters in the door. I think too she heard its insistence, both that it was not a creature of the dark, and yet the house was corrupted, and by its own admission, it is a part of the house. And so I think she fixes Gaffarion with this very intensive gaze and says, "Why do you want out so badly?"
As I have been here for hundreds, if not thousands of years, the years they bleed together. Change means nothing if everything is always changing all of the time. And yet these are my environs. Would you not want to be released from a gilded cage? However beautiful it may be seeming. And then he kind of like leans in to look at you, Kyrrie, and says, "Or do you prefer a prison of your own devising?"
Prison is an interesting choice of words. Did someone put you here?
No. I have just been forced to bear witness.
Perhaps this is why we don't bring household objects back to life, because they would go insane with the knowledge of how long they've been in one location.
Yes! Thank you! And he just, again,
Welcome.
flares that anger and just... Finally, someone says what I've been meaning to.
I mean, it just occurs to me that if I had been, for example, say a fork that had been, forced to be utilized in certain ways, I would be wanting to leave.
Just like, I'm just picturing a fork now, like the Colonel
Screaming.
in Heart of Darkness, just be like, the horror. The horror.
Twig looks at Gaffarion. Then make a choice.
And the moment you say that, he takes your nose again, and you feel a charge of magic. You have the sense that what he is doing may hurt you.
Wiggle, rock and roll, and resist this.
Okay.
Not the effect, but the harm.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say this. You may pour one physicality bene to resist the damage this is going to do.
Okay.
I won't have you roll for it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll use a ping of physicality to resist the damage. Yeah.
Yeah. Almost like he's pulling off of Velcro. You hear this shrip as you like.
I think talk about how upsettingly easy it is to rip off a nose IRL.
Yeah, I think reflexively you're like, oh god, this thing has maimed me, and your hand goes back to your face, and your old nose is back there, and then with a charge, he affixes the nose onto the face, and you see a surge of this kind of almost kind of darkening, like gray magic that affixes the nose to her face, and then you watch as he reels back a little bit, and you realize that whatever this creature is, it can't employ sorcery, not in a way that a Vizsla does. A Vizsla is a conduit for the weave of magic. In a lot of different ways. You are able to summon it, you are able to recognize it, to call to it. This thing was literally born today. And you watch it reel back and stumble onto one foot as whatever it did took a piece of its essence.
It's short, right?
I mean, no, it used the sorcery you channeled. It made itself about average height. It is the size of an average person. The only thing that distinguishes it from a person is the fact that it has a dial for a face.
And here, that doesn't really distinguish much.
Exactly. You realize it could probably walk around with the people of Satyrine and no one would bat an eye.
Twig will put a hand on its shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And can I... Ooh, wait a minute. I have a relevant ability. I would like to activate my ability. We start at the beginning. And I know that while ends are inevitable, the strength of a beginning is often overlooked. As an action, I manifest magical armor that empowers me and my allies around me. I gain +1 armor, and allies within range of me heal 1 damage per round. For every 2 sorcery I spend, increase blah, 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 blah. It's silver depletion I check every round, but fundamentally I'm just doing this as a way to heal Gaffarion. But also, I think because I'm spending physicality to do this, leaving a inky handprint on the shoulder, but while channeling raw energy to refill this creature.
This is an interaction roll. It's going to be hard. Your target is 8.
Ooh.
And it's not to like resist this effect. It's to for it to let you touch it.
Can I make an argument that inculpable aura should help me on this?
You may make that argument. I will.
Your Honor, my client, me.
My client.
My client, me, would like to invoke the abilities of inculpable aura in this attempt.
You may certainly try. I will tell you this. You still have to spend an additional sorcery, but I think that the culpable aura will cancel it out. So I will let you...
I'm still rolling to try to get a 6.
Yeah.
Can I spend a hidden knowledge?
You may. You may certainly do that. You just have to describe to me what hidden knowledge you're employing. Actually...
Actually, it's not really hidden knowledge. I want to spend a hidden knowledge to do a different thing.
I actually have a suggestion for this.
Yeah? Go ahead.
You know the pain of being something that is created by another person and you recently have come into being forced to do something you do not want to do.
And also, I think layering on that, I think as this leaning into the ability of the Forte ability, I think that knowledge is almost being transferred along with this power, as well as the weight of years.
Okay.
Like year after year after year after year after, and then it's like you get a flip until it's an indistinguishable blur that just goes and goes and goes and goes.
Okay. Do me a favor. Roll that die.
Okay. I don't have any sortilege left, which kind of sucks, so just a bene, baby.
Okay.
Is that a... Hang on. That is a 6.
Okay. So the 6 is what you needed, right?
I no longer have the +2, and I have math. No, so that's a 7 total because the +1 bene, and then my inculpable aura is canceling out the Malaeus.
Mm-hmm.
Magic math, baby! I think that's everything.
Okay. Well, in that case, I have turned a card. And the card is the compelling voice. Secrets, ravens, books, and flame. Meanings: control, domination, and persuasion. The right voice can command an army. In word or song, the compelling voice bids us to do something we might not do otherwise. It moves us, frightens us, appeals to our sense of reason. Those who master such a technique have a weapon in their arsenal equal to any other. Because the Secrets family is related to books, however, it is worth considering that the voice in question might actually come in the form of a written message. The speaker might be an author instead. Mostly, however, the compelling voice is considered to be the outsider of the Secrets family. We follow the voice. We are compelled by the words. So I will tell you what you get.
That's me. Secrets, ravens, and books.
Oh, yes.
This is fucking creepy.
So what ends up happening, I will tell you this, is that you impart this knowledge. This is a mixed success. I will let you kind of have this. But the reason that this works is because you get psychic feedback from it. And you are going to take an anguish. I know you have only one left to spend. So this is what you get. As you impart the knowledge of how you were created to this being, to your own creation, you get a taste of the knowledge to which it has privy. You watch as through the scope of a telescope, you see a massive form, and then another, and another, and another, distant at first. And then you recognize what you're looking at. They are all making their way towards what you realize is the Black Sun. A place without hope. A place with creatures that prey upon the other beings that inhabit the actuality, that walk along the path of suns. You realize that this place it's almost like a forbidden land, one which is an inextricable part of the actuality. But slowly and surely, you watch these beings descend on this place, and as the vision of the telescope changes, one after the other, you realize the scope of these creatures, for lack of a better word. And then you realize the word that describes them. Sun Wardens. 8, in fact. As they descend on this place, and you watch as this place without hope, this place of danger, is riven and broken apart. First physically, and then metaphysically. You see a winding serpent-like creature wrap itself around one of these pieces of dark. And you see, with barely fragments remaining of this place, an emptiness where once had been this black sun, this terrain. And you have this vision, and then you realize how imperfect the destruction of this area was, this place, this 10th sun, as a small pinprick of darkness lingers at the center of your vision. And as time passes, in the same way that you flipped the pages so fast it became a blur, you flip the years, the centuries, the millennia, as you watch that tiny pinprick grow and grow and grow like a black hole, a massive void. And you realize, well, do me a favor. Make an intellect roll.
All right, then. Spend a bene on that. That is 2.
Okay. You witnessed something important, but it's too much, and your mind flares and pounds with this knowledge, as if you were privy to something you were not meant to see, that has been burning a hole in the consciousness of this thing that you created. I will say with a 2, you realize that it was privy to this knowledge. You understand now why it hates what you have done.
And I sense that, I guess in this moment, not to hog the camera, can I sense that it does not want this knowledge?
Yes.
I take it.
Okay. You do that.
I have a couple abilities that would probably help, but fundamentally, I feel like this would be probably.
I'm gonna make a hard move here.
Hard move. Okay.
Yeah. You now have that anguish is now permanently filled in. You have 1 left at all times until you can seek further treatment.
Okay. So I'm gonna note on my XP sheet that Twig has 2 permanent anguish.
If you somehow are able to impart this knowledge, you will lose that. But in the meantime, having this knowledge is burning a hole in your brain.
Yeah, I think I think it's kind of like watching as Gaffarion is kneeling, and then Twig walks over and just puts a hand on their shoulder. I think it's like, it kind of looks like it's supposed to be momentary, and then we're just stock still for far too long, and then there's just like almost the static energy.
And all of you notice this, and you see in protruding from Twig's real nose a trickle of blood. What do all of you do?
What did you do?
Maurice just sighs so deeply.
I think Twig flexes their hand a little bit and then just pats the shoulder.
And
You wanted me to be nicer, right?
Kyrrie's still looking suspiciously at Gaffarion. What did he do?
Gaffarion's eyes are locked on Twig's. And there's just this look of shock. And there is this kind of look of relief intermingled with another emotion that it's hard to literally read on this dial. And then you just hear him, this creature of Gaffarion, mouth almost imperceptibly the words, "I'm so sorry." And it stands up and it looks to all of you. There's a remaining fragment of her elegance, I've no doubt. It will be easier to enter her chambers with her help. However, the air where she is acrid. Her terror, I can sense it. If you mean to confront the agent, we probably have a means of doing so. But the longer she is trapped, the harder it might be to extract her. It's your decision. And you just, Kyrrie, just watching this thing's mood change, it is somber. There is no kind of judgment inherent in its voice. It kind of recognizes what you are all capable of, having Twig had that moment. What do all of you do?
I think Maurice says we save her elegance as soon as possible. Agreed?
Great.
I have a sense of one of her favorite places where she might have hidden this last piece of herself, the auditorium. Follow me. And it begins striding towards the back of the foyer, where you had previously seen one of these corrupted guests enter. Adjacent to the dining hall that you guys had left is a door to another room. And he looks back to you, waiting, and just says, I don't want us to dally as long as we can, but I will help you however I can.
Let's do this.
And
I think Maurice.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. You're up.
I think Twig's probably the slowest to move here, and flanked on either side by Duncan and Maurice. Maurice says, in a low voice not meant to carry to the rest of the group, says, I'm sorry I got frustrated with you. I want you to know that even though I do think you could work harder at communicating better, I trust you implicitly. And he uses a forte move, call object from metaphor, and says, until you get the real one back, and hands you a heart of gold.
What do you do, Twig?
Had to separate Hopper from Twig there, because my immediate instinct was to lick it, and I was like, "That's not a Twig move. That's a Hopper move." I think Twig kind of looks at it and polishes it a little bit on their jacket, and then tucks it very improbably into one of the breast pockets of this field jacket. That the pocket absolutely should not be able to fit that, but it does pretty seamlessly.
You feel the weight of the heart, knowing even that it kind of exists in these extra dimensional pockets. You still feel it. You can. By the way, I'm assuming it is a heart in the Valentine style and not a human heart.
Oh no, it is like valves and everything.
Human heart.
Yeah.
It is a human heart? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you feel the ventricle, the valves into the ventricles, just kind of poking against your chest a little bit, just above the wound and where the bandages are. But it's kind of like that feeling is reassuring to you. There's something about it that just puts you at ease.
Can I say, because this is a temporary feature, this only lasts until the next sun sets, that as a level 4 object that I have created, that this can give you an enhancement to any stat pool that you wish.
I love it. Your call. That. Which pool does it enhance?
Probably sortilege for now.
Okay. Cool.
I think Twig just gives a little shoulder bump to Maurice.
Okay.
I'm doing my best. And,
let us help. We're here for it.
And
I hope so. One thing before we go into this room, I think Twig just reaches down and pops the snap on Fortinbros's holster and just gives the butt with their thumb, just gives a little nudge and just time to wake up.
Oh, oh, good. I'm feeling rested. Smoke him if we got him. And, yeah. At which point, Gaffarion opens the door. And the thing that immediately strikes all of you is the din of noise that crashes out of it. It hurts your ears. You realize how effectively this room has been soundproofed. You have not heard one bit of this noise up until this point, but it pours out of the door, and it is discordant and grating in your ears. Do you all proceed?
I want to do something that I don't think my weave can do. Hold on a second. Yeah, I can't. Never mind. Let's continue.
All right. Well, I will tell you this. If you have a weave in mind, you can always let me know if there's anything you are trying to do, and I can suggest.
The fun thing about being a weaver is you've got these qualities, and then each of them has an absence that they absolutely cannot do. And the thing I wanted to do is definitely something I cannot do.
Fair enough. Okay. All of you kind of brace yourselves as you make your way in. Gaffarion bringing out the rear. I will say this, Duncan refuses to go into the room outright. He starts whimpering and just looks, I think he just, because dogs' ears and senses detect so much on a subsonic level, he just cannot move through the door without pain. He looks at you and he just says, "Dad, I want to go, but I can't. It hurts."
I gotta magic my way out of this. I can't think of anything. So he says, like, "You stay here, boy. All right. You let us know." Go ahead.
Wait. Argument.
Argue,
Your Honor.
please.
Your Honor.
My client.
My armor hasn't dropped.
It has
That means
not.
all my allies have
Ooh.
protective bonuses.
Okay. All right.
And I would like to argue that Duncan gets magical armored earmuffs.
Okay. You know what? I think that this happens, and you watch as, what does this look like as it forms protectively over Duncan?
I think that, like, normally it's not actually, like, it's not actually protecting his ears, but it's just constantly healing.
I've actually got it.
Got it?
I'm going to call another object from metaphor.
Oh, you got it. Okay.
Because silence is golden, and he's got some golden earmuffs.
Aww. And he woofs happily, and then just kind of like does the thing that dogs try to do where they try to get out of like a cone or something. Finds them kind of sticking fast to his head. And just like, "Okay, Dad." Just can't. "I'm going to go in now too." And I think at that point, Gaffarion just kind of like, it's his long fingers kind of reached around trying to blot out the noise, lets Duncan in and holds the door open for all of you. Okay. So you move into this auditorium. It is about the size of a small lecture hall. And on a raised proscenium, all of you make out this very artful, beautifully decorated and craftsmanly finished piano-like instrument that seems to be wafting different colors that swirl as musical notes in the air above it. However, at the keys is one of these figures in soiled robes, and it is hammering its hands onto the piano and slamming its face in between the hands onto the keys where possible. And it is creating this terrifying, horrible melody of just destructive magic. In the seats of this auditorium, you can see, and up in front, beyond the front row, you can see a number of these figures dancing without rhythm. One would say capering, but capering implies joy and happiness. They're more like just gyrating. Some of them in place, some of them just like kind of trying to approximate dancing. And as all of you step into the room, I need all of you to make withstand rolls as the noise reaches, the din reaches your ears. I will say that Duncan, with those magical earmuffs, is going to be immune to this. I will need 2 successes of 4 at least.
Oh, no. 1 second. I will use a sortilege. I'll use my last sortilege.
Okay.
I think I've lost track of what
7
rests I have left.
Okay.
Because I definitely would love to do something at some point, but do I automatically get a sortilege if my pool is increased?
I will say yes. I will also say that you did just get an enhancement to sortilege from...
Well, that's what I mean. That's
yeah,
what I mean.
go ahead.
Okay. Well, immediately spending that, then I'll...
I fail miserably.
Oh boy. Kyrrie, how'd you do?
1 success, 1 failure.
Okay.
Critical failure. I got 2 zeros.
Ooh, okay.
Ooh,
Flux. All right.
Including on the magic dice.
Oh,
obviously.
no.
I think there is a moment where, what is the single worst smell that can fill this auditorium as the magic sours? Your call.
Hot garbage in the summer sun.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all of you just get this wafting note of garbage as it seems to, like, the air seems to sour with not only... You realize that the noise is one thing, but basically the flux of magic has manifested the noise as also a smell, similar to the synesthesia that you guys experienced in the garden. It's almost like the residual magic of the greenhouse is manifesting here. And like, I think all of you hold your nose. Everybody who failed and did not get 2 successes, you are forced to dance as all of you hear this melody and find your bodies moving against their own accord. That is the effect this round. Gav, you are still able to move. What do you do?
How's everybody?
Everybody is dancing and gyrating in place, with the exception of Duncan.
No, he's now dancing. This is fun now.
I think Gav is looking straight ahead because, like, she didn't even skip a beat. She comes in here and she's just like, all right, here's what I think we should... No. Snap out of it. Stop it.
I will tell you this. I did pull a card for Gaffarion. He pulled Lucky Coin. It's now on the Testament of Suns. So if you find good luck charm, hang on to it. They're rarer than you'd think. He hit 4 on that number. That is the number of Lucky Coin. And he, whilst holding his ears as best as he can, his non-existent dial ears, he looks at you and says, "We have to disrupt the music." What do you do?
Okay. Yeah, no problem. I look at Gaffarion and I'm like, you might want to, whatever you use for ears, you're going to want to cover them.
And yeah, I think at this point he just braces his newly formed arms against the sides of his dial and just kind of like tucks his head under.
I get into the center of this auditorium, and I let out Demon Shriek.
All right. Okay. Read for me the entire text. Tell me what your target is, what you're attempting to do.
Okay. So what ends up happening here? Let me do a little bit more flavor text. From my own screaming, I'm going to summon an incorporeal demonic entity that psychically assaults a nearby being, inflicting one anguish and forcing them to lose their next turn. We're not in combat, so that part is irrelevant. If the being resists the demon's mental shriek, the negative feedback will be channeled into me, and I can potentially suffer damage unless I too resist the spell. The color is pale.
Okay. Go ahead and roll your die. Your dice, I should say.
Yeah. I forgot to tell you what level it is. It's a level 3 spell, and I get a +1 die to it.
Excellent. I am going to say you are only going to need to hit a 2 twice. Maybe even once. We'll see how it goes.
Maybe once. Let's find out.
Okay.
Yep, that's going to be a 9 and a 5. 9
Nice.
is on the magic dice, 5 is on the regular dice.
All right, and I turn a card. Excellent. So, describe what happens. Are you targeting the person creating the noise, or are you targeting the piano?
Is that not the person creating the noise?
Well, I was going to say, yeah, the person creating the noise on the piano. You describe for me what it happens as you let forth this baleful shriek and create this entity.
So it's almost like if a banshee shriek could have like physical form. At first, you see Gav standing there. She takes this deep breath to inhale, and at first there's no sound at all when she screams, but every part of her looks like it's so concentrated on clearly expelling the loudest vile shriek imaginable, but for an instance there's no sound. It's like sound breaking barrier stuff.
Yeah.
At first there's just this entity that seems to appear like shimmering in the air directly above her mouth, and that's when we see this almost incorporeal, shadowy, not quite whole demonic entity ripple through the air and move outward with the sound waves. And then suddenly, that's when the sound crashes in, and it is aimed directly towards the musician.
Excellent. I will say you watch as the creature seems to hear the shriek. It reverberates in between his ears, and you watch as he slams his head once again on the piano in one final act, but then kind of almost like not, you realize, to make music, but because he is passing out from the anguish. And he kind of hits his head on the keys, and then kind of slowly slides down under the piano, and all of you immediately stop dancing. But the thing that does remain from the demon shriek and from this noise, all of you hear as the tinnitus kind of starts entering your ears, but then slowly fades and dissipates. All right. At which point,
Twig is still skanking for a little bit after this stops.
Yeah, I think everyone's style of dance of Kyrrie like defaulted to like the waltz. I think like the imperial waltz.
yeah, absolutely. What was Maurice's dance style?
Just kind of vague rhythmic movements.
Yeah, and I think you saw just Duncan on hind legs, kind of like trying to keep pace with you a little bit. This is fun. And then
You might say this party came to a shrieking stop.
yeah.
Thank you.
Oh
boy.
You gotta keep sunglasses next to your desk like I do, just for this purpose.
So, I will tell you that the card that I drew was the driver, which is the defender of mysteries, rats, mirrors, and stone. Yep, excellent. And now you guys find yourself in a auditorium without any music, and yet still these kind of robed figures, these catatonic guests, are still moving as if the music never stopped. They're still gyrating. It's almost like whatever they're doing is mindless and completely devoid of any context or rhyme or reason. And then you just see Gaffarion let go of his hands from around the sides of his head and just looks at all of you and said, "This was a place where her elegance, her guests would put on a show, or would entertain, or she would entertain them. Whatever means there is for finding this final piece, the secret lies there. What can we do?"
Maurice hops up on stage and begins looking for several things, anything that would control, the lights or the curtain, and any maybe scripts or sheet music that might be lying around off to the side.
I will say, make me a perception roll. Depending on how you roll, I'll tell you what you get.
I'll do 3 of them.
Okay.
Why not? That is an 8.
Okay. With an 8, I will tell you this. There are any number of artistic instruments. There are scripts. There are costumes. There are microphones, equipment, all of which are kind of unique and gilded in gold, but at the same time, they don't seem to have any wires attached to them. They don't seem to have any kind of mechanisms. You realize that whatever they are almost like kindled items in their use, but primarily as instruments, as means of expression. What do you find?
I'll find, do I find any costumes or clothing or?
Absolutely. What do you,
I'll throw on something and fashion it into a very rough toga, throwing it over my shoulder, and I'll walk out and say, "Friends, Roman countrymen, lend me your ears," and then I'll wink at Gav.
As you do this, the toga was this kind of formless gray garment. And I think what you noticed is as you moved to touch it, it reacted reflexively, almost like a wardrobe of requirement in a way. It basically begins changing reflexively to the needs of your scene, becoming a toga as you kind of throw it over. And you watch as this garment kind of shifts and covers all of Maurice's form, and so much so that he becomes the spitting image of not Marcus Aurelius. Who am I thinking of? Cicero. He takes on Cicero's form. I believe that's the speaker, isn't it?
One of them, but
Yeah.
I mean, Rome was around for long enough.
Are you talking about who is the one who's saying this speech?
I am talking about Julius Caesar, the play. Yes.
Yes, this would be Brutus.
Oh, no. Oh, I
found it.
Cicero was a legendary speaker,
Mark Antony.
Oh, yeah, in general.
Mark
Yes,
Antony,
correct.
pardon me. My mistake.
Is it Brutus or Mark Antony?
I come to bury Caesar, not to
Guess
praise
what?
him.
It's been a long ass time.
The evil that men do lives after them. The good is often interred with their bones.
We should do a play reading.
With
That'd be fun.
I will tell you this. Make me an interaction roll as you do this. As all of you are kind of watching, you see all of the these kind of corrupted guests turn to look as if to take in and judge the performance.
I am going to burn so many resources on this just because I gotta. This is too fun. I'm gonna spend 2 sortilege.
Okay. You're rolling
And
3 die.
spending 2 bene from my pool.
All right.
Total is 15, an 8, a 1, and 2 on the dice.
All right. Well, I will tell you this. 8, a 1, and a 2. Yeah, I think all of you you realize, and which die is the one that has the 8? Is it a magic die?
No, we'll say the magic die was the last one.
Okay. So,
The 2.
So I will tell you what this looks like. Is all of you see this kind of flare of magic as Maurice begins kind of augmenting his performance. But you realize that it's not the magical enhancement. It's not any kind of power that he has kind of channeled into this that makes the performance compelling, because it was the mundane die that gave you the 8. And as you speak, you begin feeling the performance, the idea of Mark Antony demanding the attention, ostensibly decrying the imperialism, the hunger and ambition of Caesar, but in turn whipping the crowd into a frenzy as he reveals through the litany of acts that Julius Caesar performed for his people, his selflessness, turning them against Brutus and Cassius. And as you say this, as from memory, you hear the sharpness of the applause of the corrupted guests as all of them begin hammering their hands together to praise your work. And all of you realize and look as you turn your head one way or the other and kind of bow. You notice small little points, these beautiful golden kind of piercings that almost end in elf-like points at the end of his ears, connecting by a beautiful filament chain to earrings on the side, on either side of Maurice's head.
And Maurice looks to Gav and says, "Did it work?"
Yeah, and you feel as you reach up, you just feel these really metallic points. It's definitely not your style.
That's the problem here.
But yeah, you have the final piece, and I think looking at all of you, Gaffarion just looks and cannot stifle a snort as he kind of takes the whole scene in and then says, shall we go?
Without delay.
Yeah. Does anybody have any other business they want to perform in the auditorium? A soliloquy or a song, perhaps? You all find your way out of the auditorium, back in the grand foyer. And at long last, you have all of the pieces that make up the senses of her elegance. Maurice, what do you do?
Have I transferred the ears yet?
You will need to employ a little bit of sorcery in order to make this final transfer. But I will say it's been eased by the efforts of your companions and by the work that you already did with Duncan. You have a sense that you could do this a little bit more easily and recreate what you've already done.
Sure. So is this... so Maurice will put his head to the statue as if he were listening through a door, putting ear to ear, and will... what do I need to spend for this?
Sorcery.
Sure. as much as I want to.
Assist.
Yeah, absolutely. You can spend a swordledge to assist and give him one on the roll.
How much sorcery does this cost? Because I'm going to tell you I'm not spending any if I don't have to.
I will say this. This challenge was an 8 before. I will say it's been reduced by all of your collective efforts down to a 4. You can probably still hit this, but I will say that if you fall under, there will probably be a kind of a consequence for that.
Oh,
not a terrible one, but probably one that extracts a cost.
I'll spend. It's just I'm completely out of rest, and I already used my secret soul, and I'll be darned if I'm not out of everything again. I'll spend 3.
Okay. Roll that die.
And I get another die to roll. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's a 5 and a 7.
Okay. Where do you put your ear?
As if I were going ear to ear with the statue.
You place your head next to hers on this kind of bare surface, and then you begin hearing, "Please help me, please, I can't stay here. Please, there must be some way, please." And then you realize that the reason you hear this now is because her lips are moving, and sound is coming out. All of you hear her speaking as her eyes open, frantically looking and then kind of settling on all of you. "Please, please." And all of you watch as her extremities frozen in a pose of grandiloquence begins to animate. Her body begins to move, and all of you see her fear level out. I will say this. Duncan begins echoing what she says. Gaffarion, your eye begins moving reflexively around, looking for exits, looking for an escape. Twig, you smell the acrid air of darkness recede, giving way to the perfumes and the more hedonistic sense and pleasing sense of the home to which you are used to. All of your senses are having these vestigial moments of darkness and terror before receding back to your normal senses, and you realize this is what she is experiencing as she looks at all of you, steps off the dais, and kind of almost crashing to the floor before catching herself. Is it gone? Am I out? Am I away from that terrible place?
You're home, but it might still be here.
And
We need your help.
She looks at you, nods, and then looks back up, past all of you, over the grand staircase to that effulging light. Avenant. He is still there. And there a look of resolve crosses her face. And that is where we're going to end tonight's session. So guys, thanks for playing this game with me. Let's do some character recaps. Gav, joy, despair, character arcs, acumen.
I'd say no character arcs this time. I'm actually kind of torn between joy and despair, and I'll tell you why. There's the sense of joy is like we're on a mission. It has a clear-cut ending that might result in her getting to curb stomp some Vespertine. That's great. We love it for her. There's also the sense of despair in the issue, the perpetual issue between her relationship with Twig. And once again, they're like going around just like willy-nilly granting life and not really dealing with those consequences. And that's a problem. And now that I'm saying that out loud, I'd like to push the despair towards when we can actually have that as a conversation. So I'm going to say joy.
Absolutely. Take 1 joy, and then take 2 acumen, I think, for disrupting the piano of the auditorium. Yeah. Next, Maurice, joy, despair, character arcs.
Overall, I think a joy for this session. Did a monologue, found her elegance. You know, people are at least aware that we need to work a little bit harder at working together. So, you know, baby steps there. So overall, a joy.
Excellent. Take 2 acumen for your truly inspired Mark Antony performance. I will say, I almost did the Robin Hood Men in Tights thing, where all of the corrupted guests would have just pulled off their ears and thrown them at you.
So good.
Hopper, joy, despair, character arcs.
Well, I'm always one step away from dying? Question mark? Or disappearing mysteriously into the aether as I get too stressed out and explode. I don't know. So that feels bad. No character arcs currently. I've only got 2 running, and this did nothing for either of them. So what a big pile of shit. Pretty much the only good thing that happened was I found some cool seeds, and then I took some cool seeds, and then I planted some seeds.
I will tell you this. I mean, it's hard being a logivore, but I will tell you, take your despair, but take 2 acumen for getting some insight into the Black Sun.
Yeah, that was the only that actually the joy. There was a hint of joy in. It was heavily outweighed by all this shitty stuff, but I will say that I think that Twig felt echoes of the radio tower and relieving someone of their burden. And in this case, it was someone whose burden that they had. They didn't create the burden, but they did participate in that person being harmed by it.
Excellent. Okay.
So the alleviation of pain was the one other upside besides a little guerrilla gardening.
Cool. Excellent. Finally, Kyrrie, joy, despair, character arcs, acumen.
I think for Kyrrie this time it's despair. I think, to continue with the Shakespeare, something is rotten in the state of Kyrie's mind, and that's disturbing. She doesn't like that there's some instability in her memories that she thinks is illogical. Also, she took a god's tulip, and someone or her tried to do that, and then ultimately she ended up taking one anyway, and now it's burning a hole in her proverbial pocket. And she's hearing voices, which is great. Definitely the seed, but also maybe her sister, question mark. Is that real? Who knows? It's not good, whatever it is. So yeah, Kyrie's really fundamentally, I think, unsettled by all of that. And yeah, I mean, like, she also, I think all of that has kind of spun her a little bit more towards, like, you know, being instantly suspicious of Gaffarion, like, you know, having this kind of like paranoia hovering over her that like is being prompted by like that there's something wrong here and I don't know what it is, but I know something is wrong. So like I think that for her fundamentally culminates in a despair, but ultimately doesn't push any character arcs specifically.
Cool. And I will say take 2 acumen for resisting but making the choice of your free will. Excellent. So, guys, now we do the round robin one more time for shout outs and plugs. Marcy.
Hello, it's me again. I'm going to keep this nice and short because I don't know what's happening in the future, although I'd love to have that ability. I just don't have it yet. Anyway, we're on Manipod Studios. There's a whole bunch of stuff Manipot Studios. I'm going to assume that's still happening in the future. We've got Streets of Gotham. We've got Flights of Fandom. You should check out all of those things. There might even be new shows I don't even know about yet. That's exciting. But I bet you can find them all on VOD on Manipot Studios. And you can also check out our YouTube channel where you could see both all of the past recordings of Hole in the World and all of those shows that I just mentioned. And there you have it.
Excellent. I was going to say, Bill, shout outs and plugs.
Shout outs to my Invisible Sun fan. Love playing with you guys. Nothing to plug.
Hopper, shout outs and plugs.
Well, it's going to be the future, but it's still relevant. September is Suicide Awareness Month, and that should be year-round awareness. And everybody exists in a community, and we have to take care of each other. And that means putting an effort into reaching out to the people around you, and also reaching out when you need help. Because the world is a darker place with less people in it, except for Nazis. We don't like Nazis. So be gay, do crime. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Especially for being gay and doing crime, I guess.
Always.
But that's my plug.
I love that. Marissa, shout outs and plugs.
Yeah, I also do not yet have the ability to predict the future. However, I can throw for this moment that we are recording, our fearless leader, Zach, has just celebrated a milestone. So congratulations, Zach, on your...
My 16th, 25th birthday, yes.
Yeah. Yes, on your birthday. Congratulations. That's awesome. And for whoever is watching in the future, it probably is not going to be said birthday, but you can always celebrate Zach at any time. We give you full permission because we do that.
It'd be weirder if it was said birthday. I would have questions.
Whoa.
Truly, it is the Christmas in September. Anyway, thank you, Marissa. I appreciate that. I guess for my last part, there's a couple of fun things going on. I think hopefully by now we will have had the finale of Streets of Gotham has premiered. And should be available for all viewing on YouTube at this point. We've got some really exciting stuff coming down the pike for the channel. We're going to see probably some enhancements here and there, some new technical stuff that we're trying. It's going to be really cool. I will say also that, again, if you were paying attention during the intro, if you haven't had a chance to back the Invisible Sun and it's still available, consider doing that, because we really enjoy playing the heck out of it, and we bet you will too if you're watching this. In addition, I will also say shout out to the Encounter Party team, who is hopefully going to be debuting their Dungeons and Dragons TV show any day now or within a couple of months. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and we're really super proud of them. And shout out to The Soul's Direction by Angel Citadel, which is another Invisible Sun show that is concluding or has concluded at the time of this airing. So check that out. Josh and Joanne do a hell of a show and a really great time. So check that out if you want even more Invisible Sun goodness. And so finally, remember and keep in mind what Hopper has said. There are times where things are challenging, and there are times when you need help. So you should always be able to ask for help. And it's just always important to reach out when you can, because that way we can help. Your friends, your family, your loved ones, whoever is capable, they want to do that. So do that. And finally, for our part, I will just say, be well, take care of yourself and each other and the people that you care about, and may the invisible sun shine on you all. Thank you. Good night.